have learned more from staring at a tree than I ever have from staring at a man. I have gathered more truth within than I have searching outside of myself. I have found more revelations in my reflection in a pond than in the sharp clarity of a mirror. I have witnessed more with my eyes closed than I ever have with them wide open. I have felt more for others than I have ever felt for myself. I have lost more words than I have spoken. This book holds the words I never want to lose. Words I felt I had to share. Words that needed to find a new home. Words I have discovered along the way. The TOMONOSHi Way. Adventure awaits. The TOMONOSHi Way, an invitation to play. When our dreams die, so does a part of our spirit. Not just any dream, the one that truly belongs to you. Not the dream handed down by society, family, friends, or community, but the dream you discovered on your own, the one tailored for you. Dreams die more often than people do. And more often than not, their deaths are not caused by outsiders, but by their own owners. You, me, us. If a dream belongs to you, only you can kill it or let it fade. Yes, there are dream killers roaming the world. Those who destroy dreams out of fear, doubt, or neglect. But the responsibility to protect and nurture your dream is yours alone. Dreams die in many ways. Some are lost to self-oppression, to self-destruction. Others are crushed by lack of knowledge, lack of skill, lack of belief, lack of effort. It's hard to dream in an environment filled with those carrying dead dreams, places where people no longer dream at all. Many dreams die in silence, tucked away, never spoken aloud. Some are abandoned because their owners believe they have time to return to them, time to reclaim them. But dreams, like water, evaporate if left unattended too long. They will fill as much space as we allow, but they must be carried, nurtured, brought everywhere we go. A dream must see what we see, shift as we shift, grow as we grow. There are many lonely dreams wandering aimlessly, discarded, forgotten, and yet dreams never truly disappear. They become available for others to find, for those in search of something to dream about. How many dreams are we allowed to have in a lifetime? Is there a limit, a quota, a point where we are told enough, no more? Or are dreams endless, waiting to be discovered, reshaped, reborn? Perhaps the real question is not how many dreams we're allowed, but how many we allow ourselves to pursue. But sometimes a dream needs to be let go. Letting go of a dream is one of the hardest decisions we face. We hold on to dreams because they feel like extensions of ourselves, representations of who we are, who we want to be, and the future we once imagined. But dreams, like people, evolve. Some grow with us, shifting into something new. Others reach their natural end, not because we have failed, but because we have changed. A dream is meant to move us forward, to inspire action, to challenge us. But what happens when a dream no longer does that? Sometimes holding on to a dream for too long can weigh us down, not because it isn't meaningful, but because it may no longer fit who we have become.
The Maker's Way, a lifelong practice. While immersed in Japan's culture, I met many makers, craftsmen, artists, storytellers, dreamers. I spent mornings in sunlit workshops where the scent of sawdust and lacquer lingered in the air. Afternoons in tatami-lined studios where ink bled softly into rice paper and brushes whispered across canvas. Nights in small, crowded izakayas where laughter spilled onto the streets and ideas were exchanged over steaming bowls of ramen. I watched callous hands shake the clay, heard the rhythmic hum of a blade sharpening steel, traced the delicate folds of paper as the origami master conjured life from simple creases. I spoke with a sushi master over our omakase dinner. He prepared each bite a lesson, each cut of fish an extension of his craft. I sat with a woman crafting chopsticks, watching as she smoothed the wood with careful hands, shaking each piece meticulously. I learned the way of the samurai from historians, piecing together fragments of a code, a philosophy of mastery, duty, and honor that shaped warriors in their relentless pursuit of excellence. I peppered them with questions about their philosophies, their routines, their practice, about how they arrived at mastery. I listened, absorbing every detail, every movement, every solid exchange between creator and creation. Every interaction, every lesson, every conversation became a thread in the fabric of my understanding. Their brilliance scribbled, littering the margins of my notebooks. It was never just about watching. It was about becoming a student of the craft, of the craftsmanship, of the master, of the process itself. We spoke of mastery, although none of the craftsmen declared themselves as masters, because mastery, as they believed, was not a title. It was a practice. It was measured in presence, in hands moving without doubt, in the quiet surrender to the work. The Maker's Way is the practice of creating as a means of discovery, as a means of discovering who we are, of shaping, refining, and transforming both the things we make and the person we become in the process. It is a lifelong pursuit, a commitment to making boldly, freely, unapologetically. It is the belief that creation is not just about the final product. It is about the process, the learning, the failures, the iterations. It is about manifesting imagination into something tangible, whether through art, writing, music, craftsmanship, or ideas. The Maker's Way is the TOMONOSHi's way. To create is to become, to shape, refine, and transform not only what we make, but who we are. And for me, it was the only way to escape the walls that had allowed the institution I worked for to build around me, to make, to dream, to become. This is the way.
Not so funny. The identity crisis. Deep in the ocean, within a vibrant coral reef, lived a clownfish who wanted to be anything but a clownfish. It wasn't funny like the other clownfish, and it was tired of being expected to tell jokes. Comedy was beneath it. It loved drama. It wasn't clowning around, but the creatures of the reef wouldn't accept it for what it saw itself as. So, it decided to be something else. First, it spread its fins wide, curling them like tentacles, trying to mimic the octopus. But the octopus could camouflage. A clownfish could only be orange. The octopus's laugh. You clownfish are so funny. Once snickered, shooed ink in his face before swimming away. Next, the clownfish found a pufferfish. It tried to inflate itself, to puff up just as big, but it passed out. When it woke up, all the pufferfish were gathered around, giggling. Silly clownfish, they whispered, their round bodies wobbling with laughter. Determined, the clownfish found a rock and tried to be a turtle. And the turtles accepted it. Come join the gang. Yeah, come join our gang, they said. The clownfish swam closer, and before it could even celebrate, one of the turtles swallowed it whole. That tastes funny. Laughing, the turtle licked his lips and swam off. What the clownfish failed to understand was simple. A clownfish will always be a clownfish, even if it isn't funny. We can't change the way the world sees us. We can only change the way we see ourselves. This is the way. The climb, mountains and mindsets. Three men, each climbing toward the top of the mountain, met at a rest stop halfway up. For days, they had climbed alone, pushing through exhaustion, braving the elements, keeping their thoughts to themselves. The small shack on the side of the mountain was a welcome refuge, somewhere warm, somewhere safe, somewhere shared. Over bowls of chili and cornbread, they sat together, grateful for the company, grateful for the pause, and slowly they began to talk. The first man spoke of who he would become when he reached the top. The second reflected on how far he had come, on the ground he had covered, and the man he no longer was. And the third simply said, "I'm just happy I didn't die on the way up." They laughed, raised their bowls in a toast, and tore into the cornbread like victorious warriors celebrating survival, friendship, and the undeniable fact that chili tastes better when you're not dead. The next morning, they set off, each carrying the weight of their own focus. The first man looked up, eager to reach the top. "Here I come, baby! Woo-hoo! We're going to the top!" The second man looked down, taking in the distance he had conquered. "Look how far we've come!" The third man looked ahead, eyes fixed on his next step. Another day to climb. Hours into the ascent, the first man came tumbling down. His eyes had been fixed on the summit that he missed the step right in front of him. His eyes had been so fixed on the summit that he missed the step right in front of him. The second man, lost in his thoughts of the past, forgot where he was going, lost his grip, lost his balance, and fell. But the third man, he never noticed. His head was down, his focus set, his feet moving with presence, one step at a time. And so he climbed, and he still climbs, conquering many mountains, moving with intent, with presence, with the understanding that every step is its own summit. This is the way. Inspiration, the firefly effect, passing the light forward. Inspiration is never owned. It is seen, chased, and sometimes lost before it can be grasped. We do not choose who inspires us, nor do we choose who we inspire. Inspiration is like fireflies flickering through the summer night sky. If you aren't present, you may miss it. We never know which flicker will grab our attention, send us on the chase, make us want to capture it. But when we do capture it, we must remember it is not ours to keep forever. Like a firefly trapped in a jar, inspiration fades when confined. It glows, its glow, once effortless, dims. Held too tightly, it withers, fades, and dies, an uninspiring end. Neither fireflies nor inspiration are meant to be owned, but belong out in the world, flickering freely, lighting paths beyond your own. Capture inspiration, capture fireflies, let them illuminate your world, and then release them back into the world so that they may flicker, so their glow may light another seeker's path. When we release the firefly, when we release the ideas created from what inspired us, we too become the firefly for someone else to chase. We become the light, the movement, the flicker of inspiration itself. To live and follow the TOMONOSHi Way is to be the firefly. The firefly does not choose who chases it. It simply flies, moving in whatever direction feels right, flickering effortlessly without expectation. It does not try. It simply is. The firefly represents hope, light, positivity, knowledge, wisdom, and guidance. That is exactly what inspiration is. It does not attempt to inspire a certain number of lives. It does not set a goal for how many people it should move. It simply illuminates its own path. We cannot try to be an inspiration to others. We must simply continue glowing as brightly as possible, inspiring ourselves to keep going. This is the way. Thirsty, the flowers cry. A thirsty flower yelled as loud as it could at the sky, pleading with the clouds for rain. But the distance between them was too vast. The clouds couldn't see the tiny flower, let alone hear his desperate request. A man walked by. The flower cried out to him, hoping for water, hoping to be noticed. But he was too lost in the glow of his phone, too immersed in technology to hear nature's sweet voice. Then a dog appeared. The flower braced itself, hopeful for salvation, but the dog lifted its leg. A wave of panic rushed over the flower, shaking, trembling, sinking into fear. It was about to be drenched, but not in the way it had hoped. Just before the dog could release its toxic stream, the man whistled, calling the animal away. Relief, but no rain. The flower was even thirstier after the terror. Now it had a choice. It could keep yelling, hoping one day the clouds, or a man, hopefully not a dog, would hear it. Or it could accept its fate and die of dehydration. And in a silence of exhaustion, the flower began to cry. The tears trickled down its face. The drops fell onto its petals and then into its mouth. A realization bloomed within the flower. It had been waiting for others to save it, waiting for help, waiting for nourishment, waiting for something beyond itself. But in the end, it had always known exactly what it needed. So it made its own water. This is the way. The koi, golden scars and waterfalls. While in Japan, Miho and I stood before a quiet waterfall nestled in the heart of a Shinto shrine. The gentle sound of cascading water filled the air, and between me and the waterfall was a meticulously raked rock garden, a still reflection of contemplation. The waterfall poured into a serene pond, and in that pond, koi fish glided beneath the ripples, their scales glittering like living jewels. The sight took me back across the ocean and years into my past, to my first encounter with koi fish at a Chinese buffet called Wok Bo in Houston. Even then, I found the koi mesmerizing. They move with regal elegance, and as a child, I would stare at them for what felt like hours, spellbound by their majestic energy. Yet, I had never reflected on their meaning. I turned to Miho and shared this memory, laughing as I reminisced about Wok Bo and General Chow's chicken. You know, I said, this probably wasn't even a General Chow's. Miho laughed along with me. I doubled down on the joke. Americans. Her infectious giggle tickled me, and soon we were laughing so hard that we drew curious glances from other visitors. Swallowing our laughter, we composed ourselves, but the koi still held my gaze. Then, with a calm and reverent tone, Miho spoke. The koi fish is very special to us, Marty-san. She began. It represents hard work and resilience. There's a legend about the koi. It is said that the koi who can swim to the top of the waterfall will transform into a dragon. Her words held me still, allowing the sound of the water to wash over me. A fish transforming into a dragon. What an incredible reward for persistence, effort, and resilience. I looked again at the koi, now with a deeper understanding. These creatures were not just beautiful, they were symbols of ambition and perseverance, embodiments of the idea that the journey, no matter how challenging, could lead to unimaginable transformation. The koi in that tranquil pond seemed as though they were dreaming of the waterfall's peak, silently reminding me that resilience is not just about enduring hardships, but about striving toward greatness. And in that moment, I couldn't help but wonder what waterfalls in my life was I swimming up. Then I snapped out of the majestic trance the koi had over me. I turned, leaned down, and whispered into Miho's ear, "Do you think the koi fish poi boy would taste good?" We laughed out loud, clearly disturbing the peace. We swallowed our second serving of laughter, then continued our adventure. This is the way. The soul, the internal melody of Tomonoshi. The soul is music in its purest form, an eternal composition, unchanged in essence, yet shaped anew through each lifetime, each vessel, each expression. It is the unwritten song present before form, resonating beyond time, carried through every world it touches. Tomonoshi is not an action. It is not an effort. It is the rhythm that allows the song to be played fully, the flow that connects melody to movement. Like a note waiting to be struck, the soul is always present. Like an instrument waiting to be mastered, the body is the tool. And like a musician learning their craft, each lifetime is an opportunity to refine, to align, to create. The vessel changes, the melody does not. A piano does not sing like a violin. A drum does not carry sound like a flute. Yet each one allows the song to be heard in its own distinct way. Mastery of the instrument is not about forcing a sound. It is about understanding its nature, its strengths, its unique resonance. And so, to step fully into Tomonoshi, One must learn the body, the mind, the presence through which the soul speaks, through movement, through action, through engagement, the song plays, not just existence, not just sound, but soul music, heard, felt, lived. The TOMONOSHi Way is not just alignment, it is the moment when the soul's melody moves with compositional freedom, when presence becomes artistry, when action transforms into sound. We do not just live, we play, we express, we bring forth the music carried within us. Through motion, through creation, through mastery of form, we take the song of the soul and make it heard, felt, seen. The instrument and the melody become one. No separation, no hesitation, just pure expression. The soul is the essence of self across all worlds. The soul is the unseen, the unbreakable core of identity. It transcends time, form, and place. It is the truth of who we are beyond the vessel we occupy, beyond any single existence.
The maker in me, nothing new, always you. I've always been a maker, even while playing in the NFL. Between practices, between the noise, between the expectations, I created. I made movies, ads, books, music, art, but never full time, never without question. At times I was punished for making things, for being too curious, too experimental, too willing to color outside the lines of the playbook that they handed me, for being creative in a world that demanded singular focus. Dreaming outside the game was frowned upon by the teams, the coaches, the fans, media correspondents, even my teammates. The unspoken rule was clear. You are an athlete, and that is all you will ever be. It seemed to me that they not only had a game plan for the player they wanted me to be, but also the person they wanted me to become. It was the latter that I rejected the most. The limitations of their game plan weren't just about when I'd get my number called or if I'd ever get to play. It was about identity, who I had to be, not as a player, but as a person, just to get the ball. Only one version of myself was permitted, but I refused to shrink. I refused to be just one thing, just one pursuit, just one story. The spirit of conformity breezes through every locker room, stadium, city, school, or neighborhood. But what so many fail to understand is that conformity and action should never be mistaken for conformity and thought. This is the great failure of institutions, organizations, and societies across the globe. Yes, we can all agree there is a way we should treat each other with kindness, respect, acceptance, but that does not mean we must all think the same. I was often left out, not because of who I was, but because of how I thought. In a world that thrives on sameness, we should embrace diversity in thought. That is what sets us apart from animals. Every chicken thinks like a chicken. Every roach thinks like a roach. Every orangutan thinks like an orangutan. And shit, every blood-sucking mosquito thinks like a blood-sucking mosquito. But humans, no two think alike. This is the beauty of humanity. Our minds are wired differently, shaped by experience, curiosity, and choice. Yet, living in a society, attending a school, working for an institution that prizes conformity above all else stifles progress. Creativity falters, innovation dies. The different are dismissed. If you do not fit neatly into the box provided by those in charge, you are cast aside. But I refuse to let that dismissal define me. I wanted to dream out loud, boldly, freely, without the shackles of expectations projected onto me, without the weight of a temporary profession defining my entire existence. I wanted more, to do more, to be more, to become someone greater than the position on the roster assigned to me. I wanted to grow without permission, without apology, without hesitation. I had a deep desire to make more than plays on the field, to craft something lasting, something that wasn't measured by a scoreboard stats or confined to a season. I wanted to make more of myself, to discover more of myself, to shape, build, create, not just for the world, but for the sake of knowing who I truly was. I wanted to be a full-time maker of stories, of ideas, of objects, of worlds, of my own becoming. This is the way. The Origami Master, the art of folding, the practice of becoming. In a quiet corner of the city, hidden between alleyways where the light falls gently, there's a small workshop. Inside, the air smells of paper and time, of years spent folding, unfolding, refolding. The workshop was filled with stacks of colorful paper, some untouched, others soft with the weight of countless folds. A woman sat on a small wooden stool, her posture regal yet effortless. She was tall, draped in an extravagant pleated dress, the fabric cascading in elegant folds, mirroring the paper creations that surrounded her. Her curly hair unfolded at her shoulders, loose and wild, an untamed idea waiting to be shaped. Cranes perched on shells, wings frozen in anticipation. Pandas crouched in corners, ready to spring into motion. Tiny paper shirts lay neatly folded, waiting to be worn. Her fingers moved with silent precision. Her hands were worn, creased like the paper she bent, scarred from years of paper cuts, each tiny wound a quiet mark of dedication. She voted without hesitation, without sight. Blindness had never limited her ability to see. She had followed a path of creases in the paper and blazed new paths many times before. She didn't just have a master's understanding of the art of origami, she had a master's understanding of paper itself. She knew the weight of it, the way it bent, the way it resisted, then gave in. She knew the rhythm of creation, the quiet devotion of craft. Decades of repetition had made the art an extension of her being. It was said she had folded more creatures than even time could keep track of, breathing life into paper in a way no one ever had before. Some say she knew every crease before it existed, that the paper whispered destiny to her, revealing its shape before she ever laid a finger on it. Paper was the floor where her fingers danced with the effortless grace of the seasoned ballerina, each fold a movement, each crease a step in perfect rhythm. Her workshop was not just a place of making, it was a place of becoming, a place to be reshaped, remade. Every fold, every crease, every movement is an invitation to transform, to shape, to change, to fold, unfold, and fold again. Her pleated dress glided across the sea of paper scraps, sweeping through the space with the controlled elegance of a dancer poised in the arabesque. She moved with a quiet urgency. The tiny fragments lifted, swirled, drifted, suspended in the wake of her swooping fabric, moving like whispers carried by the wind. She did not simply fold, she shaped, she guided, she knew. Each movement was intentional, each crease a conversation between precision and patience. Her presence filled the workshop, not through words, but through action, through the precision of her hands, the trust in her craft, through the quiet dialogue between paper and touch, between patience and urgency, between knowing and becoming. Her fingers do the path ahead, each fold, each resistant, each precise moment when the paper will yield. She was not guessing. She was not seeing. She was listening. The paper spoke in quiet tension and softened edges, and the silent prophecy of creases waiting to unfold. There was no hesitation, only grace, only trust. She did not rush, but she did not linger. She moved as if the form was already within the paper, waiting to be revealed. She understood what needed to be done, and she did it completely, without doubt, without delay, with a mastery that did not demand recognition, only devotion. And isn't life the same? We must shape ourselves with the same urgency, patience, and grace. We cannot wait forever to begin. We must move, grow, fold ourselves into new forms with attention, with presence. Yet, like the paper, we must also know when to yield, when to pause, when to trust the rhythm that is unfolding. Some of us have spent a lifetime folding and unfolding, shifting, changing, becoming. And even you too can be reshaped. Even a paper that has been creased 100 times, even the one that has been crumpled into a ball and cast aside, can be smoothed, refolded, and given new purpose. Life does not demand perfection. It demands commitment. It calls us to move with conviction, but always with grace, to transform, not through force, but through understanding, to fold, unfold, and fold again. Because like the origami master's craft, we are always becoming. This is the way.
The pursuit of betterment, the daily commitment. The pursuit of betterment is not an achievement, it is a mindset. It is the recognition that growth is a continual process, that the path to becoming your best self is a daily commitment, and that betterment is not something external. It begins within. Nature itself is always in the pursuit of betterment. Every plant leans towards the light, reaching for the energy that fuels it, nourishes it, and helps it grow. This is the essence of betterment, always leaning toward the light. We, too, have an innate sense of what the light is in our lives. The things that fill us with energy, illuminate our passions, and help us grow. But unlike nature, we often lean away from these things instead of toward them. We hesitate, we falter, we allow fears, doubts, and distractions to pull us back into the shadows. Yet, truth is undeniable. What we keep in the shadows fades. The trees that receive no sunlight die. And the passions we neglect, the ones we refuse to illuminate, suffer the same fate. The TOMONOSHi Way is about choosing to lean toward the light every single day. It is about identifying the things that help us grow, the passions, the dreams, the work that fuels your spirit, and giving them light, giving them energy, giving them life. It is about stepping out of the shadows and into the things that make us shine. The TOMONOSHi Way is not a life lived in competition with others. It is a life lived in competition with oneself. It is about confronting and defeating old habits, battling our fears, overcoming our circumstances, and rising to challenges, not for anyone else, but for ourselves. Because those who choose the TOMONOSHi Way have a deep, innate desire to become a better version of themselves. When we polish the interiors of our souls, our exteriors will glow naturally. And when we pursue the light in our lives, we discover the light within ourselves, the light that fuels our passions, our purpose, our betterment. Betterment is not a destination. It is a way of moving through life. To live the TOMONOSHi Way is to commit to leaning toward the light, to nurturing your passions, to becoming a brighter version of yourself every single day. Who is the TOMONOSHi Way for? For those who desire to play. The TOMONOSHi Way is for the wanderers, the searchers, the adventurers, those who have never felt like they truly belonged and so have searched for new places to be. The TOMONOSHi Way is for those who color outside the lines, not out of rebellion, but because they believe they can make the world a more playful place. The TOMONOSHi Way is for the doers, the makers, the seekers, the ones who can find beauty in all things. The sliver of light sneaking into the darkest of moments, the brighter side of things. The ones who can bring joy even to a deathbed. The TOMONOSHi Way is for the curious, the ones willing to wonder where no one else will, and because of that, they discover what no one else has. The TOMONOSHi Way is for those who think from the dirt to the clouds and everywhere in between. The TOMONOSHi Way is for those who don't just move through life, they question it, explore it, and unearth the essence of its true meaning. The ones who reveal truths about the universe, themselves, and others. The TOMONOSHi Way is for those who use their own hands to build the world they wish existed, to build the life they want to live, to do good for themselves and others. The TOMONOSHi Way is a spiritual way of being, a way of living, a way of seeing, a way to approach life, not by telling you what to think, but by offering a more playful perspective on how to see your own journey. The TOMONOSHi Way is for you, if it's you that you wonder about. This is the way.